So, new room, new setup, new lights, new me. Not really. Hey guys, Harley Q here with another video talking about the annoying things of they're having a licking party back there. Hey guys, we're having a licking party and we're also talking about the annoying things. Yes, we're talking about things that annoy us while collecting video games. We usually talk a lot about these things at my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/harleyqs_playtime. I stream every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesdays. I am going to be adding in a Monday. Maybe when this video comes out, that Monday will already be added in. But let's just kind of jump right into the topic. This week's video is going to be about the annoying things of game collecting. I feel like this is going to be a series that I kind of go back to a few times because I feel like there's always something else you can add to it. So I'm just going to kind of name a couple things, and I don't know, maybe there'll be a part 2 somewhere, or maybe I'll just kind of make some other kind of video. I don't know, but let's just do the basics. So probably one of the most annoying things of game collecting is, well, let's just say people who think that they have the $1 million game. Let's just say one thing. It's not impossible for people to own games and not be a gamer. It's not. It happens all the time. People just end up with their kids' junk and all that stuff. It's a lot of the reasons why I have most of the games that I have. However, just because you have an old NES game does not mean that it's worth $100, Susan. You don't need to sell it to me that high. People tend to think that because they have a retro game or an older game that it definitely has to be worth value, and they don't seem to understand that some NES games or Genesis games, any kind of older game, could be as low as $3. Another annoying thing about buying retro games is definitely having to wait on people, especially a lot with, say, the Facebook Marketplace. I definitely get very annoyed sometimes when I'm trying to contact somebody about a game and they can't figure out a time to meet up with me, or they sell it to somebody else because I didn't answer them back right away, which has happened to me several times, and it's the one reason why I don't have a copy of Animal Crossing. Speaking of Animal Crossing, let's jump on. We're gonna piggyback off of that one. So it's it's also waiting. It's a lot of waiting for people to post that game, and sometimes you can have somebody post the game that you're waiting for and you don't necessarily get that game. I literally have contacted several people for copies of just Animal Crossing City Folk for the Wii. Not a very super expensive game, but for whatever reason, it's gone within 5 seconds of being posted. Obviously, because of New Horizons being out, people tend to get nostalgia for these older games, and they get a little harder to get. It's irritating. It's irritating to say the least. So more things that are really annoying about game collecting is the constant fluctuations of prices. It gets super annoying when you're waiting for, a game price to drop. You think it's going to drop. You're holding out to buy it, and then it drops up. It doesn't drop up. It pops up, flies up, goes up like $30, $40 sometimes, especially because of COVID. We're talking about GameCube games, man. I mean, I was very lucky back a couple months ago where I got a bunch of GameCube games for the prices that I did. I don't even know how much I paid for those GameCube games, but they came in a lot, and some of those games go for $60 now. I have Double Dash and Melee, and those are actually copies of games that people really, really want now. So it's food for thought. It's definitely something to consider when collecting games, that prices are going to fluctuate, and some of those games, like any Mario game, tends to hold its value. I think the lowest Mario game might be $12, but you guys, Nintendo is all I gotta say about that. There's probably multiple things that you could kind of bring up when you're talking about what's annoying when it comes to like older games, and I don't know, it's irritating when you're trying to like build a game room and your things are, you're on a budget and you have these limitations, but you also want to get these really good games, and you have to worry about people on eBay, and I just realized that my follower sub goal is down there. It can be super frustrating, and a lot of times when you're trying to make these deals with people and do meeting places, and sometimes you even go as far as to drive a certain long distance because you heard of a yard sale that these people are going to be having, and you want to buy all their stuff and they don't want to sell it to you, which has happened to me on multiple occasions. I have made very long trips and have tried to make bargains with people and buy all their stuff, and they're just not dropping on the price. And it's just super duper frustrating because you want to be able to just take all the stuff, and that's part of it. That's one of the great parts about game collecting, is buying these huge lots of games and sitting down and just ripping through all of it together, and then discovering what are some of the goodies that you have, instead of like having to pick out these games one by one. I don't know, that's just what I like to do when I game collect. It's probably different for everybody. Another super irritating thing that happens is planning to go somewhere to go buy stuff. Say on a yard sale, you find it on Facebook or Craigslist that someone is having a yard sale, and you get there and somebody already got the games before you. So these are just things that are just so irritating. You're like, why can't I catch a break? You know, but there's so many... Hey, could you not? So there are definitely many things that are just so irritating when it comes to game collecting. And I feel that, you know, the biggest thing is just, when it comes to game collecting, it's no race. And I feel that sometimes we see these people who go to yard sales and buy a $3 cart that happens to be a cart that they can sell for a couple of $1,000 or even more. You know, your chances of finding a Nintendo World Championship cart in the wild is so slim. Your chances of finding one anywhere is so slim. And I feel that sometimes we get these little fantasies in our head that we're actually going to find these things out there. And it is frustrating when you plan a weekend trip to go and get these retro games and you can't find them. You know, or when you go out, you only get a couple of things, and there are things you don't really want, but you just got them because you don't want to leave empty-handed. That's happened to me too. And it's just... sometimes it's just a waiting game, and waiting kind of sucks. I'm trying to stick, when I talk about this topic, I'm trying to stick about more of things that happen when you're actually physically collecting the games, rather than coming home and organizing your game room and things like that, because things about that can also be super duper irritating as well. And I could name some of those, but I feel like that's going to be a whole future video about just actually sorting out my game room kind of thing, because there are some pinpoints that I could make there. But yeah, that's pretty much the video. Not really a long one, kind of a short one, a little bit of a rant that I had. I guess I more just wanted to think of or address some of the things that definitely irritate me when I'm game collecting, because I know I get super frustrated sometimes when I'm like ready to just continue my building of a game room and this creation that I've had, and being able to play some of these old games that you just can't go to a store and buy anymore. I mean, some of the things are nice when they have, you know, backwards compatibility, especially with like the new Xbox coming out with, you know, that's definitely going to have backwards compatibility, which will make my life so much easier when it comes to streaming on Twitch. I won't have to hook up all these different systems constantly. If I wanted to just do strictly an Xbox month, I could literally just have my new Xbox sitting here and just do all of the Xbox games. It would be super easy to stream from. But you know, I don't know, these things, I sometimes think that these things are kind of hard to find, especially with re-releases of stuff, because I noticed that when they do re-releases or remakes or just anything like that, the older versions of games tend to gather more value. Sometimes not by much, sometimes just by a couple dollars, but sometimes people think that because an older game comes out that suddenly their game is worth $1 million. And sometimes people also seem to forget that prices do fluctuate. This I've seen happen with Final Fantasy V. This I've seen happen with Final Fantasy VII. People seem to think that that's like the holy grail of video games, where at one point it was super expensive to get, I want to say. I'm not exactly sure when. I feel like when I actually wanted the game as a teenager, it was actually hard to get and expensive. But I feel like now it's not a cheap game by any means, but it's not a super expensive game by any means. It's not your $120 Toomba game for the PlayStation 1. So just something to keep in mind too with game collecting is they're not all holy grails either. I don't know. That's just kind of where my mind goes. But anyway, what do you think? What are some of the things that irritate you about game collecting? Do you have any tips and tricks on how to deal with some of this stuff? I mean, I know I definitely get so angry sometimes when I think that I'm gonna score a really good deal, or when I go to a yard sale and somebody just starts to argue with me about prices. I generally just walk away. I'm not gonna sit there and argue with you. If you think that all your games are worth that much money, that's your prerogative. That very rarely happens though. It's rare, but it does happen, and it has happened to me. I'm pretty good with dealing with it, but I just have to say that I do generally get super irritated at it, because you just wanna buy games and go home and go through them. I mean, that's just how I do it. But yeah, that's pretty much the video. So let me know what you think. Give this video a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe, and definitely check out my Twitch channel. Link somewhere. And make sure to stay safe out there, because the world is literally on fire and it doesn't seem like it's gonna go out anytime soon. And love ya!